I'm going to show you how to fit laminate flooring. This can give a sophisticated look to any room and it's completely dust free. And here's what you'll need to do the job. Laminate flooring, spacers, underlay, saw, jigsaw, adhesive, beading, measuring tape and pencil, safety glasses and dust mask, combination square, door trim, panel pens, radiator rosettes, miter box, duct tape. Before installing, store and acclimatise the boards inside the room on a flat surface to avoid warping. Read manufacturer's instructions for correct length of time. If you plan on finishing the laminate flooring with trim, there is no need to remove the skirtings, and this will make the job a lot easier. The type of underlay you use depends on the surface you're working on. I'm working on a wooden floor, so I'm using an acoustic underlay. This reduces the impact sound to the room underneath. But remember, always read the manufacturer's recommendations. Roll out the first strip of underlay and cut so it's flush to the opposite wall. Cut away around pipes and obstacles so the underlay fits snugly around all edges. Lay the first board in the right hand corner of the room. Face the board with the tongue edge facing away from the wall and leave 10 to 15 mm expansion from any board that's next to the wall. Cut around any pipes or obstacles using a jigsaw. Then click the boards together following manufacturer's instructions. Cut the final board of the first row to size and keep the offcut. Use a combination square to get a straight line. Cut the board using a handsaw or jigsaw. Leave an expansion gap of 10 to 15 mm between the board and the wall. It is very important to ensure the first row is straight so that the joints will fit together tightly. Start the second row with the offcut from the last board of the first row. Clip this to the start point of your first row, remembering to keep your expansion gap. Make sure you stagger the joints for a natural effect. After your second or third row, use spacers or your offcuts to ensure there is an expansion gap of 10 to 15 mm where the boards meet the wall. Your boards should always go together fairly easy. If not, check your joints are tight and your boards are straight and then try it again. Continue with this method for each row as you continue to lay the floor. Roll out the strips of underlay as required. Refer to manufacturer's instructions for how underlay should be joined. If laying laminate around a corner, mark the depth and the width of the corner on the board and trim off with a jigsaw. When fitting boards around a doorway, use a piece of underlay and an offcut of laminate to judge the amount to be trimmed from the bottom of the architrave. Place a multi-saw or a fine-tooth saw on your depth gauge and trim the required amount. Test with a board to make sure it fits. If your door has a saddle, you need to remove it. When your room is complete, screw or stick your door trim in place on the door threshold. If screwing, check the area with a cable or pipe detector. And don't use very long screws. And then remove all spacers from around the room. To finish the floor, use beading to disguise the expansion gaps between the wall and the floor. Use a miter box to saw miter joints at either end of your first strip. Start on your longest wall, with the long end of the joint going into the corner. Glue in place with an adhesive. Then use panel pins for extra security. For internal corners, use a miter box and saw to create a 45-degree angle at the end of each length of beading. For an external corner, use the miter box and saw to create a 45-degree angle at the end of each length of beading. As a final touch, place radiator pipe rosettes around the bottom of any radiator pipes in the room. And that's how you lay laminate floor, and it's a beautiful finish. Job done. For more helpful hints and tips, go to woodiesdiy.com.